Welcome to a space to speak your mind for World Mental Health Day. It's our 5th anniversary and we have a special version of this show on our podcast feed talking about the help and support our friends at Birmingham Mind provide. If you're looking for that programme, you should find that just below this one on Apple, Spotify and Amazon Podcasts. Meanwhile, here's this month's show.
Welcome to A Space to Speak Your Mind,
a radio programme and podcast about mental health and wellbeing, made by people with lived experiences in association with Cornwall Mind.
We do occasionally cover subjects that some listeners may find distressing.
For more information and help and support, please visit cornwallmind.org.
A Space to Speak Your Mind with Cornwall Mind.
I'm Francesca.
And I'm Julie.
I'm Gaelle.
And we are hosting this lovely show
for World Mental Health Day.
Okay, what's on the show today?
Today we're going to be talking about a CHAMPS project called Screen It.
I'm going to talk about safe places and my Makaton.
And we're going to talk about the importance of creativity in wellbeing and just looking after your mind.
And Richard, what are you going to talk about in the show?
I'll be chatting to Scarlett Moffatt, who's an ambassador for the Samaritans, about motherhood. Comedian and author Max Dickens talks about social anxiety and forming friendships when we're older. Plus, I'll be finding out how taking a walk and getting out in the open air is good for our mental health with Team GB Olympian Tom Bosworth. And Victoria's here too. Who are you speaking to today?
Hi Richard, I'm talking to Rhys Wynne-Jones. He's the mystery piano player at the Penzance Night Church who has gone from strength to strength with his piano skills and done lots of amazing performances around Cornwall. I'm also speaking to Alice Phoenix. She is the lady who put together the Night Church in Penzance and runs it every week. So it's going to be great.
That's all on this month's show.
A Space to Speak Your Mind.
This is the Space to Speak Your Mind.
Hi, well, this is Gaelle, and we are going to talk to Francesca. So, Francesca, we've had a little chat before coming on air, and we talked about the safe places. Can you tell us about it?
Okay, so safe places is basically about people with learning disabilities and autism can find a safe place all around Cornwall, because we have loads of safe places around Cornwall, and they can go to that place and they can, if they lose like a member or a family or anyone, they can have like a card like this. They have their name on the top, the contact details of that person, and also they can tick which one they are. So basically, if they're autistic, learning disability, or the bottom one as well, which I can't see, I know diverse.
So for anyone who can't see the card, it says I need help on it. It's really, really nice. So what kind of situation would you have when you need to use a safe place?
So when you use a safe place is if people are neurodiverse, they need to find a place that is better for them. They can reassure them. They need to know where their person is and they can contact them, and then they can just calm, be happy, relaxed before the person comes and collects them if they do get lost.
So what kind of situation, for example, would you need it for yourself?
Yes, I would definitely need it for myself because it would definitely help me a lot for when we do safe places.
Okay, so it's mainly for people that have learning disabilities and autistic, Downs maybe. Yeah. And how do you access these places? How do you know they're there?
Okay, so what we do is we get like an app on a phone and we find the orange dots on the app, and then we find the right place which is more safer for them, and some of them have just signed up for it. Some of them, if they're not pubs or anything, we don't do stickers for them, but for like libraries or things like that, we have stickers on them, and basically we just go over to that and check if it's on the app, and if it is on the app, then they can go to that place and it's safer for them.
So it will tell you the nearest spot
close
to you. Okay, so you said earlier it could be a library, a hospital.
Yes.
It could be somewhere in the community. It could be even a shop or a business.
Yeah.
For people that don't know what a sticker looks like, can you just describe it?
Of course. So the sticker it looks like is like a white background with two people. It's got like dots around it. Then it's got orange, and then it's got blue on the outer side of the circle as well. That says safe places around it.
So I haven't seen that sticker until today, and I will look outside of the hospital. This is where we are. This radio is inside the Treliske Hospital in Truro, and apparently there is a sticker to look for by the entrance. So I would just challenge anyone that hears this, next time you come to the hospital, just hunt for that sticker, because even though you might not need it, you never know, you might come across someone who will need it later on. And then I think power is in the knowledge of knowing that these things are there. Okay, so we have done the first thing that we wanted to talk about, which was the safe places today. But there's also another thing that is very close to your heart, which is the importance of Makaton. So first, before we say anything, because not everyone knows what Makaton is, can you explain what it is?
So Makaton is a sign-in thing that people use, because with my condition, and it actually affects 775 babies all around the UK, they got affected by Down syndrome. If they are non-verbal and they can't communicate, especially like me when I was little, if you use Makaton, like a communication sort of thing, like a sign-in, it actually helps them to understand what it is, and it helps them to make them happy, and it is a good way of communication and talking to people even though you can't speak yourself. So when I was little, I was copying my mum all the time, and that's what really helped me to get into Makaton.
So was that your mum that taught you Makaton to start with?
Yes, when I was little, I couldn't know what Makaton was, but now I remembered it because my tutor was a Makaton tutor now called Saskia Daddy, because she is under Cornwall, and even though my mum taught me Makaton years ago when I was little, Saskia's into that as well. So it's been really lovely to be back into a Makaton choir and be back into it and enjoy Makaton, and it actually changed my life since I was first born, so it just really is really nice for me in my heart.
Yeah, I can hear that in your voice. So you said as well to me earlier that you use Makaton as your main way of communicating for many, many years, and actually you came to using your normal voice much, much later in life. So now you've become really passionate about teaching Makaton to other people and including it into what you do?
Yes, I do. I like to teach people with Makaton because Shannon had Down syndrome, but also doesn't speak because she's non-verbal, because she's got cerebral palsy at the same time. I had to communicate by using Makaton for her because her mum passed away. I think it was 2 years since we've known her mum, and her mum knew that she had Down syndrome but didn't know she had cerebral palsy at the same time and can't speak. So that's why using communication with Makaton actually really helped. So I'm actually doing that for Shannon, and it's actually helping her mum as well, because even though her mum's not here, I have to do everything for her. So that's why I'm looking after her at the same time with her dad and her daughter as well, who's working in the army. So yeah, I'm just helping Shannon really, but everyone else can use it as well because it's really lovely.
I have worked in care, not for very long, but we used it with some of the people that had very limited language skills because of learning disabilities, because of the state they were in. And for some people, they had an emergency Makaton book with signing, and it was a way for them to be able to express themselves. And I think we under-evaluate how much we need to communicate with other people when people have things to say. Even if you have learning disabilities, they still have things going on inside of them. They have emotions, they have passions, and clearly for you, you've got dance, you've got singing, you've got all sorts of things. Would you say that it's easy, or is it hard to learn Makaton?
No, it's actually really easy, because when I was little, Makaton is a saviour for me because it was really easy to pick up for my mum. But now I'm in a Makaton choir, I get to follow my tutor Saskia, and she is amazing Makaton tutor in the whole of Cornwall, I could say, because she's amazing, so shout out to her. She's been lovely. But teaching us Makaton has really helped me because it's really easy to do it online. But when you're face to face, it's more harder for people to face Saskia, and also not picking up the signs, which they can really do because some of them are really harder for them. and some of them are really easy, so they can pick and choose which one they can do. But for me, it was easy.
Would you say it's like any language? Because Makaton is a language. It's just using signing instead. You probably always learn new words anyway because of the context you're in, the situation, the people you meet. And then it's a constant learning, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's like a big, massive learning curve for everyone with Down syndrome because my condition is affecting everyone, including my friends, because my friends has had it as well. So I'm just following their footsteps, really. And so I know they're going to be really proud of me. But my nana, that I didn't get to see, she'll be really proud of me as well because she never knew I could dance, never knew I can do being on a stage or never do Makaton, because it actually made me happy and made her proud and myself proud as well. And I really want to do it for my dad because my dad's got dementia and he knows that. He's really proud of me. So yeah, I just wanted to do it for my family, wanted to do it for my friends, and I wanted to do it for everyone. So
and for yourself as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's just communicating with everyone. I think we can't ask any more to you about that now because you finished it beautifully. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
Having a baby can be a scary time, but no one plans for their baby to be in the NICU, where they'll have an average of 6 healthcare professionals who are involved in their care during that time. Scarlett Moffatt, whose baby boy arrived sooner than expected and was born premature, was rushed into the neonatal unit, and she's here to offer ideas on how to say thank you to the NICU team on returning home. So thank you for being here, Scarlett.
Oh, no, thank you for having us. Thanks for chatting.
So can you tell me a bit about your experience with baby Jude?
Yeah, so it was a bit of a shock. I've had a C-section at 35 weeks pregnant, so a whole month before we expected Jude to come along. I blame the potholes. That's setting off early, but I don't know. But it was a scary time, actually. But I'm someone who likes to be in control. I think that's my way of, looking after my own well-being. I like things to be a certain way. So then when he came along really quickly, and we were told that he needed to go into the NICU and he had low blood sugars and needed to be fed through a tube. And then we were told he had jaundice. It all felt very overwhelming. But a time that could have been really scary, because you're quite vulnerable anyway after having a baby, was just made to feel so calm and safe because of the NHS staff. Like me specifically, I always say a massive thanks to Helen and Charlotte, who were my nurses, because they were just amazing. Like it just felt like they went above and beyond. Like even little things, like I remember having an hour where I think everything started to get on top of us. And of all the things to get upset about, when he was having his phototherapy, he could only wear a nappy. And I went, I'd planned all of his outfits. I had a week's worth of outfits planned. And I think that was just my way of trying to cope, was like, I felt out of control that I couldn't even pick an outfit for him. And they came in with a little barrel of like knitted premature hats. And they said, you might not be able to pick out which outfit you can put them in, but you can pick which hat. And I remember just spending ages picking out like my favourite hats for him. And that really helped me at that time because I felt like I was getting some control back. When that happens, there's so many words that you want to say to the people helping you, but such a whirlwind, you can't find them. You end up just saying, thank you, bye, because you're so excited to get home.
Yeah, because you've got so much going on, so much that you're thinking about. But when you do get home, what can we do and how can we say thank you to those healthcare professionals?
Yes, I was so happy when Water Wipes came to us with this campaign. I was like overjoyed because they found as well that actually I'm not alone. Like they commissioned some research and found that 95% of parents whose babies are either premature or end up in NICU actually regard their neonatal nurse as their most valued relationship in that time. So it's their 5th annual Pure Foundation Fund. And yeah, you just head to heroes.waterwipes.com and you can nominate an individual or a team to say thank you for the wonderful work that they've done.
Yeah, no, that sounds like an amazing thing to be able to do. We are acknowledging World Mental Health Day on the programme. You've talked before about your own poor mental health when you first came into the public eye, and you're also an ambassador for the Samaritans, which is amazing. So maybe for people that might still be going through a difficult time for whatever reason, how do we break the stigma around mental health? What would you say?
Well, doing what we're doing now, talking about it, I think when you're in a space where you feel either not yourself or you're having a bad mental health day, I think you can feel very lonely during that time. You feel like no one quite understands you or that you're the only person feeling that way. Sometimes you can even feel like everybody else is doing fine and you're sort of, I don't know what music video it is. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but I always feel like mental health feels like, you know that music video where he's walking through the crowd and everyone else is walking one way and he's trying to get through the crowd? That is how I would describe my own mental health on bad days, where you just feel like everyone else is going one way and you're just trying to get through and you're like, why is this happening? But talking about it, like, you're not alone and there's always somebody to talk to, whether that is Samaritans and you call or friends and family. Just please don't suffer in silence. Don't let it get to a point where it feels catastrophic. As soon as you feel those little niggles coming in, just start talking about it, because I think sometimes you just want to feel heard.
Yeah, it's the verve. That's the video, isn't it? Richard Ashcroft, he's going down the street and everyone's doing that. Yeah, we can feel like that so much. And I'm thinking about giving birth can be such a difficult time for our mental health. So how did you look after your well-being at the time? And how do you generally look after your well-being with a young baby?
So what I found is I looked at the ways that when I'm having bad mental health days, what I do. And what I used to do is isolate myself. And that's because at my happiest, I'm surrounded by people. So it's almost like you go into self-destruct mode and you're like, what makes me the happiest? Oh, being with people. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll make myself be alone. I just talk. I just like go out, or even, you know, sometimes, especially with Jude, like a lot of my friends are at work during the day and I just take them for a walk, or we'll go to a play group and just sometimes, even if you're not interacting with people, for me, being around people, I always just feel more happier in general.
And doing something good as well. So going back to what we were talking about before, giving to people, appreciating others and taking notice and things like that. So give me some of the top tips or things that we can do to acknowledge maybe the healthcare professionals or other people in our lives.
Just say thank you and compliment people. That is one thing that I always do, because I feel like we're always so quick to look at the negative. Or if we see someone in a nice outfit or something, we just say it in our heads, we go, oh, that's a nice outfit. Whereas I've actually started just saying, excuse me, I just want to say you look amazing today. And honestly, you can see that people are overjoyed. And then I end up feeling really happy because I'm like, I know that that's made that person feel a little bit lighter, and not forced positivity, because that can be bad as well, but just naturally, if something makes you happy or somebody deserves them telling them that they look good or like they've made them feel better, just tell them.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and thank you for sharing your experiences, and especially with baby Jude, and I hope everything continues to go really well for you, and just thank you for being here today.
Thank you, that was so kind. And you, thank you.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
This is Gaelle hosting the show today, and we are going to introducing Julie, parts of Champs, and she's been working on a project called Screen It recently. So Julie, can you tell us, what is this about?
We're very lucky in Cornwall to have a team called the Screening Nurses. Where I used to live before, I didn't have anything like that.
What do you mean with before? Where were you before?
I was country in Worcestershire in the Cotswolds.
And then what changed when you came down here?
It was just pure luck. Mum and Dad went, shall we move on? Because it was like stuck in a time warp. Every day was the same and it wasn't moving on. Because we always used to come here for holidays and loved it. And then luckily it's come out amazing for me and my family. I've got a really wonderful GP down the road, and they've got a really great learning disability team. And luckily I found out about the screening nurses because I didn't even know, never even heard them before, never had one.
So what is a screening nurse?
A screening nurse is somebody who works for the hospitals, the ladies, and they can come to your house and explain about what's going to happen to you and what is the screening, because I was never given a screening test all my life until I moved to Cornwall.
So what kind of screening is it?
I had a smear test.
Okay, so that was your first one ever?
Yeah, and I'm in my late 30s and they'd never gave me one in my life.
So that's quite a surprise, isn't it? Because everyone thinks that, you know, quite early on you get a smear test every 3 years, but for people with learning disabilities, then they are not even given the choice.
No, because I wasn't in a relationship or never had sex. They kept saying where I used to live that it was going to be painful, that I didn't need to have it done. And then as soon as I came here, we went to a meeting with my mum and the new team. And they said, yeah, you should have it done at least, just see what it's like and give it a go.
And was it painful?
Yeah, it did hurt a little, but
uncomfortable, but actually on the scale of being painful.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't nice, but I had it done.
And now you would be saying to everyone that you need to have it for many different reasons.
Especially with the smear test, because you can't actually see it's right up inside your body, the ladies' parts they test. And they said it's, even though it's very small amounts of me getting a chance of cancer, but it's still a chance. So I said, I'll give it a go. And they were fantastic, the screening nurses. They came to my home and they showed me all the equipment's going to be used and the booklet, and they talked each bit what's going to happen.
So lots of gentle communication.
Yeah.
And explaining to you in terms that you understand.
Yeah. And even when I went on the day when I had it done, they said you don't need to do it if you're not feeling comfortable. I said, I want to give it a go and just do it. First time it didn't go right, and then had a bit of a break, and then did it again and had a bit of a 10-minute break and tried again and went fine.
So this was a smear test, but then we're talking about a program that is wider than that. It's not just about a smear test, it's having other tests as well for other people, male and female. So what are the other tests that the screening nurse can do?
They do, for women in their 50s, you can get your boobies checked. And for men and ladies, you can get a bowel test. You get a pack for the post, and then you do a poo sample, and then you send it off. And they do AAA, which is for men. So they put equipment on their chest, and it checks the heart. And they have eye test for people with diabetes.
Okay, so that's actually quite a lot of tests for a lot of people that it may not have been on their radar. It's not something that is mentioned to them. And it's just giving them the same right as everyone else.
Yeah, because it's very important to be tested.
So now we have you in Cornwall and you're getting tested, and now you're getting really passionate about making sure that everyone else is getting tested. So you came up with a program called Screen It. So tell us about that.
Screen It was really fun to do. It's part of the team I work with called the Champs team, where we've all got learning disabilities or autism. And one of the things we do is we do promotional songs, like for flu jabs and things like that. But screen nurses always wanted one for doing screening for people with learning disabilities and autism. So we came together with the screen nurses and we came up with a song which everyone liked. And we thought for older people and younger people, they'd kind of know Michael Jackson. We chose Beat It by Michael Jackson, but we made it Screen It instead.
Fabulous. So I don't want to put you on the spot, and you don't have to, but if you want to, you can sing a little bit of it.
Yeah. I got my letter from my doctor today. I won't need to worry, I will be okay. The screening nurse is here to make me feel okay, so screen it, just screen it.
Cool. Well, that's really good, because everyone will recognise the beat, and it's very simple, so that it's memorable for people to keep in their mind.
And we've got the 5 tests in there. So we go, the nurses check your cervix, boobies and bowels, eyes for diabetics, AAA for men, so they're all in there.
So all in there. So actually I really like how you've explained before, but now you've put it into the context of a song, and already I'm remembering a lot of it because you made it very accessible for everyone. So what's the next step with the song? What are you going to do with it now you've recorded it?
We're hopefully going to be using it up country, far and wide, well, for Cornwall, to spread the word of trying to get people to go be tested. If you've got learning disabilities and autism, not to be scared or put off just because you may not think that you fit in the boxes, but everybody should get a chance. Doesn't matter if you're disabled or not, to be tested.
So actually what you've done is you haven't done it just for yourself, you've done it for other people, but then now you're telling me that you're going nationwide with this, and a lot of people throughout the country will have access to that, and give them access to things that may have been forgotten or just not mentioned at all, and then the screening can save lives. So thank you very much. Very best of luck with promoting the song.
Thank you.
Thank you for singing it for us.
Thank you very much.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
So I'm joined by Alice Phoenix, who is here at the Night Church. You set up the Night Church.
I did indeed, yeah, almost a year ago.
What was the inspiration and how did you bring it about?
Oh, well, I had a real feeling that in Penzance we're really good at helping people who are struggling and helping people who are homeless. We're great at feeding people. In Penzance you can get breakfast all days a week, lunch on most days, you can get dinner, every night, the Street Food Project. But I was thinking, what about other things that people need? You know, what about people's souls, really? You know, not everybody's religious, but a lot of people appreciate being in a spiritual space, but don't feel that they can come along on a Sunday service, which, you know, is quite intense for most of us, let alone somebody who feels ostracised from society. And when I used to come down to the church, when I used to walk past people in the street, I always used to say, you know, I'm going down to church, is there anyone you want me to pray for you? And every time people said yes. Not one time did someone tell me to jog on. Not one time did people look at me like I was weird. Every time I got normally a list of people say, oh yes, please, would you? And I said, well, you know, do you want to come down with me? But most of the time people were like, look, I don't want to, I'd feel weird, I'd feel uncomfortable. So that was, I started talking to the vicar at the time, and she said that there had been a wish among the congregation and other churches in Penzance to have a night church, so a church that was open on the opposite hours really to day church, one where everybody would feel welcome and where there was no agenda. So there is no evangelising at all, no service. We're pretty much guided by whatever people want, really. So that's how the idea came around.
I think it definitely comes across, because when I first walked in the door, it was like, it doesn't matter who you are, it was like, would you like a cup of coffee? Would you like a cheese toastie? Would you like to do some art and sit down, join us? And it's just so inclusive.
Absolutely. We've got such a huge range of people here from so many different backgrounds. And what's lovely is now it's really difficult to tell who are volunteers and who are visitors.
Yeah.
We had hoodies at the beginning with our logo on, which I'm actually wearing now, but we ended up saying to the volunteers, do you know what, let's just, whoever's leading the night, wear one, and let's not wear them. And almost any barriers just dissolved, and it's actually really difficult to tell who's here essentially volunteering and helping out, because it's people's home. We say they can help themselves to things in the kitchen, so it's actually really difficult to tell who's who.
Definitely, I think
which is what we wanted.
It's so welcoming and so friendly, and you've created that. You created that just over a year ago, was it?
So it would be a year in November the 11th was the first one.
Are you doing something special to celebrate?
Yeah, I'm thinking we might get pizza in. So yeah, absolutely. We always like to have nice food here. So on Wednesdays, we tend to have cheese and biscuits. The reason I did that is I thought, if I was on the street, what would I really miss? And I thought, do you know what, something like cheese and biscuits, because that's not, you know, all of the local organisations make lovely hearty food. We're really, really lucky here. But I was thinking, something like nibbly. So we do cheese biscuits, and we're well known for our toasties, as you mentioned as well.
They're really good. They're so good. Yeah.
Thank you.
So what time is it open?
So we're open on a Saturday twice a month, and that's from 8 o'clock in the evening till 1 in the morning. And then we're also open now on a Wednesday from 6 till 8. And the reason we're open on a Wednesday is because of Reese.
Fabulous Reese, who's on the show.
Absolutely.
So you met Reese when he came in one day and started playing piano. You were there that night when he played Bohemian Rhapsody, was it?
He certainly did. So Reese came in on the 20th of January and didn't recognise him, so I went and introduced myself. And he said that he was new to the area and living on the streets. And we got him a toastie, and he said, you know, I don't suppose you've got a piano, have you? And he looked really despondent. His body language, he was really hunched over, he looked really low. And I said, well, yeah, of course we got a piano. Like, help yourself. And we've got a lovely grand piano. And I was half expecting him to start playing chopsticks or something like that. I'll just mess around on it like most people do. Suddenly he started playing Bohemian Rhapsody, and I was sitting with like the volunteers and other people, and I swore. And I was just like, some of the volunteers were crying. Everyone kind of ran in to watch him play. And it was absolutely amazing. And his body language just changed. He just lifted. And that's what night church is about. It's about filling holes in souls. And Reese's was piano shaped. So we were lucky that we were able to help. And I thought, well, this isn't right that he can't play, because it's obviously, he has such a special relationship with the piano that probably none of us would understand unless we had something similar.
Totally.
So I thought we've got to somehow work it so that he can play at least once a week. So I spoke to the people in the church and said, well, look, can we open on a Wednesday night for a couple of hours? And I said, I don't mind. My husband and I will come down and just open the church so he can play the piano.
Yeah.
And they agreed. And at the time, one of our original patrons to night church, he was sleeping in the garden in the church. And I thought, well, surely, we can't leave her outside while Reese is playing the piano. So I said to her, come in and bring some friends and we'll have some food and we'll listen to Reese play. And that's how Night Church Wednesdays were born.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's like a private concert every Wednesday.
It is. Yeah, we're so lucky. We're so lucky. When Reese did his first concert here, the response was incredible. We were jam-packed to the rafters, and it really drummed it home to all of us. It's like, wow, we get to listen to him every single week. And he offers piano lessons to people
I think that's lovely. I didn't know about that until last week. And the people were coming and going. And I was like, what's going on? Oh, Reese is doing piano lessons now. That is beautiful.
Absolutely.
I just think it's such a beautiful space that you've created, Alice. And I really, want to applaud you for that. And long may it continue. Have you got any kind of contact details for the Night Church if people are interested in finding out more, or if they'd like to donate or anything at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find us on Facebook. So we're on Facebook under Night Church PZ, or you can email me on nightchurchpz@gmail.com.
Super, and we'll see you at probably one of the concerts that Reese is doing.
You certainly will.
A space to speak your mind.
Hi, so I'm joined by John and Kay, who attend the Night Church. Hi guys.
Hi there.
How are you both doing?
Yeah, we're cool, we're fine.
So Night Church Wednesday, we're here. Are you enjoying it tonight?
Yes, it's cool. Yeah, it's nice tonight. There's a nice little group of people here.
How long have you both been coming?
I've been coming about 2 months now.
Yeah.
About 6.
6 months.
Yeah.
Hey, and what do you get out of it? What do you enjoy about it?
I think it brings people together, really, doesn't it? It's a good quiet space to just enjoy meeting other people, really, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Are you both homeless currently?
Yeah.
I've been homeless.
Yeah, how long were you homeless, Kay?
I'm not actually sure. Quite a while.
Quite a while. Are you living in Penzance now?
I was homeless while in
And you've got a home now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And how about you, John?
I've been homeless about 15 years, I have. And it's a nice place to chill out and get a nice hot drink and some food.
Yeah, it's famous now for the toasties.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. The cheese toasties are nice.
Do you get involved in the arts and crafts as well?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
It's quite nice, that, isn't it?
It's very therapeutic, isn't it?
Yeah, I definitely think it adds something and helps us all with our mental health and well-being.
Of course, definitely.
I actually did a weekend about that.
You need more places like this, I think,
It'd be good if there was like in every town and city and...
Well, there used to be a lot more like youth for kids and things and
especially now.
But now there's nothing for people, is there? There's nothing for the teenagers, there's nothing for the adults, there's nothing for no one, there's no community togetherness anymore, is there?
No. I think we're quite lucky in Penzance though, because there's places like this and various other...
Penzance is quite small, I think it helps, doesn't it? Whereas when you go to the bigger cities and towns and that, there's no community support there, is there? Well, it feels like there's not.
No, we could do with building that really, couldn't we, in all the towns and cities. Yeah, so you obviously heard Reese play as well?
Yeah, no, he's good. He's a good musician. Yeah, some talented people here, isn't there?
So you're going to keep on coming?
I'll keep coming as long as I'm here.
And enjoying the coffee and the cheese toasties and
meeting new people,
the ambience.
And it's nice, yeah, it's a nice friendly atmosphere.
Well, thanks both for coming on and having an interview. Take care, lots of love.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
I'm talking to Reese Jones. He's the mystery piano player at the Penzance Night Church. So I was reading up about you, Reese, before the interview, and you mentioned bullying. Could you tell us a bit more about what your experiences have been in that area?
It's really sad to say this, but it's actually all I've ever known.
Really?
It's having genuine friendships and being around a constant supportive environment is more of a recent thing for me.
Have you found that supportive environment more on the streets, in actual fact?
Yeah, I was really surprised because I actually thought it would be worse for bullying being on the streets, but yeah. I mean, from the general public, you do get bullied by them, but not by other homeless people. There's other homeless people do tend to be rather supportive, which I found surprising. Obviously, there are some homeless people that are not supportive and are very aggressive and dealing with a lot of issues themselves, but I've actually was lucky enough to be with a good group of people who looked after me, and in return I looked after them, and we got each other through things.
Through some horrible dark times, I'm sure.
Yeah.
From what I've read, mental health has been a big part of your journey. What can you share about that? I know you've sort of mentioned how you struggled on the streets, but has this been something you've struggled with since childhood, teen years?
Since childhood, most definitely. I've had a bit of an unstable family environment at points, especially in my later childhood. There was a family breakdown in relationships, and I've been on constant survival mode ever since. So I've been just trying to live day to day, trying to get a roof over my head, whether it's been in living jobs or if I'm not working out of season, trying to find shelter with friends and people that care about me, and vice versa. But there was a few experiences on that journey that I encountered that were unexpected and were really scary, and it's changed me. It really affected me in a bad way, and I've realised going forward that being unable to process the things that have happened to me affected everything around me, from my situation to the people I interacted with, to the people I cared about. And I really struggled with the pain and how to channel it. And I just wanted to be better again. I wanted everything to go back to how it was before things happened. But once things have happened, there's no going back.
No.
So you have to find a way of dealing with it, and you have to shift your perspective when these bad things happen. Because by shifting your perspective, you can look on traumas in another way, which helps you process it, helps you cope with it. And then when you go forward, you can start making better choices and a better life.
Yeah. What in particular has helped you? Obviously your music.
Yeah, the piano has been the biggest thing for me, helping with my mental health. But therapy.
Yeah.
Therapy, because there are a lot of kind people out there, like friends, family, but at the same time, they can't help you with your mental health. They can listen, they can give you some comfort, but they won't make that mental health problem go away. And the only person that can make that mental health problem go away is a professional. Yeah. Someone who can help you get into your mind, shift your perspective by giving you exercises or coping mechanisms. And there's a variety of exercises that I've tried that have done me the world of good. And that's what I say to everyone who is suffering with mental health. If you see a professional, I know it's very daunting to take that first step. It's scary to take that first step because you're going to have to open up yourself. You're going to have to make the wound worse. To heal it, you need to get to the centre of why your head is that way, why you feel that way. But once you've done that, you'll see a change.
So take that first step.
Yeah.
Thanks for that advice, Reese. Also, just a little bit about, we were discussing before about how we feel that actually we live in quite a toxic society. Our society around us doesn't help us with our mental health. What would you like to share on that?
I have my own theories on why there's such a mental health problem in the country, in the world even. And my own theory is that as humans, we're not meant to live like this.
No, I would agree.
We're not meant to live in this unnatural system. Because everything around us, from our work, money, infrastructure, it's all unnatural. Humans were not supposed to live like this.
No, not at all.
And when this system first originated many, many, many years ago, it was done in a way where it was balanced, it was bearable, like you can enjoy life, but also you have time in your life where you're at service to others, but you were getting rewarded for it, so you can enjoy life. But this day and age, the games got harder. In this day and age, the systems got worse. And some evolutions that we have taken in technology and with everything around us, the way we have evolved, we are kind of neglecting that balance.
Absolutely agree, yeah.
And I feel that because society has got a lot harder to live in, it's got a lot harsher, it's turning people cruel. And people are outletting that cruelness onto others, which is why this toxic environment exists. And I think deep down we know as humans we're not meant to live like this. So if the system wants to survive, it needs to be made easier for us, because the way the system's going at the moment is unsustainable.
Completely agree. Yeah, very unsustainable. And things like food and eating healthy, things like that are really important for us, aren't they?
Even water's a necessity, yet we have to pay for it.
Exactly.
I actually read, it really amused me the other day, Tom Holland had an interview and he thought water was free. And when it was told to him that we had to pay for water, it was funny, but at the same time horrifying in a comical way that we need water to survive. Yet we're having to pay for something that's natural. A lot of natural things we're having to pay for, and a lot of things we're having to pay more than we have to, because we are lining the pockets of people who've got all this money but are not using it to the best interests of humankind. They're using it for themselves, and I hope in time people will realise that.
I think people are kind of waking up to that, but a big one, obviously, that relates to your story is shelter, having a home. It's so expensive these days, whether it's rent or a mortgage.
Yeah, the inflation of prices from when I was a kid even to today, big massive difference, because I was aware of house prices as a family. We moved a lot, once when I was 12 and another time when I was 16, and we were selling the house, so I was aware of what house prices were. I think the house that I came from in Kent would be probably somewhere in the region of 400,000, where we sold it for probably less than 200,000, if I remember rightly. I can't remember the exact figures, but the difference in prices today, rent, house prices, it's staggering. And it used to be a lot easier back in the days. It wasn't easy, but it was easier, because even when people said, oh, it wasn't easy to get a house back when I was a kid, and I went, yeah, it wasn't easy, but it was reachable.
Completely, yeah.
With planning, with resourcefulness, that goal could be reached. But today, it's like the house price is like 6 times a yearly salary, something like that.
Our society is not right now.
It is not right at all, and it cannot continue like this, because if this toxicity is allowed not only to continue, but to grow, everyone's going to be at each other's throats. Everyone's going to go back to a primal way of thinking, and with a system that is reliant on service, everything's going to collapse. So either way, if things don't change, the days of this system are numbered.
Well, we'll have to watch that space, won't we? But yeah, let's see what happens.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
We're with Gaelle here with us to talk about the importance of creativity and well-being. We've got me, Julie, and we've got Francesca.
Hello.
First question we're going to ask Gaelle is, what made you think about putting the two together, creativity and well-being?
Okay, so I've always been into art since I was little, but in my life I have faced difficulties, experienced anxiety and periods of depression. So I had to find ways of coping, and it's about 7 years ago when I stumbled across mindfulness, which allowed me to find lots of different techniques and making sense of putting that mindfulness together with the art, and then help myself with well-being. And then after that I just thought, well, this is too good to keep it to myself, so I will help other people with it.
My question to you, Gaelle, is what do you teach in well-being?
Okay, so I teach different things. I have different groups in different locations, and some of them are once a month. We do different art activities, trying different techniques and pushing the boundaries a little bit to help people with well-being. And then I do some that are weekly, and we go a little bit more into depth into challenging people and allowing them to grow their skills. And the last one is a 6 weeks program of mindfulness and art together for people referred by social prescribers that work with doctors in surgeries.
what is the best way for you to relax after a busy day?
Okay, so sometimes I will just take a piece of paper and a pencil and an eraser, and I will start doodling, and literally it can start with just a few shapes, and before I know it I'm completely in the flow, which is a relaxed state, and 2 hours later I have finished a massive doodle on that page, and it becomes one of my best things until the next one.
Why do you like art?
I think it's not even a question of liking art. It's part of me. It's part of who I am. I don't like art for the sake of art, but it's more art allows me to tap into creativity and problem solving and do things that people haven't done before, and just seeing the joy on their face about, I can do this. And I think art can be very just for certain people, going to museums and galleries and kind of posh way of accessing art. Mine is more, this is accessible for everyone, any age, any skills.
Do you use any music in your lessons?
I do. I used to pick tracks on internet. I have one person in particular that is very fussy, and she likes certain musics, but then it was really hard to make everyone happy. So recently I have started to just Google into YouTube relaxing music with sound of river and bird sounds, and very often I will put either guitar or piano into my search, and all you need is 5 words into YouTube and it will come up with a video with beautiful pictures and the sound of it, and it's very, very relaxing. And so you choose the music according to whether you want focus or relaxing or studying or just going to sleep. Some of the tracks they have on YouTube are 8 hours long. That's your night covered.
Why is it important to learn about well-being?
I think a lot of people, when we think about well-being, they think about their health first, and I think there's been this long emphasis on physical health, but your mind is part of your body, and it's really important to make sure that your mind is also healthy and happy. And life is now very pressured, and we have to do so many things. Our attention is always on something, and it's good to sometimes stand back. If you're struggling with something, what is it? What does it feel like? And also, are you at a stage where you need to ask for help? And maybe just share that with a doctor or someone else, or maybe a charity like mine, to get some support.
I was wondering, what is your favourite place to go for a relaxing walk or something like that?
It depends. I really like woodland, and especially when there's water there, and I especially like moss. So anywhere where I can pick things that are memories of my little walk, but also this taps into something that people might know as forest bathing. It's in Japanese shirin-yoku, and it's just being in nature, tapping into natural sounds and tapping into your 5 senses. So I would say probably the woods more than anything.
Do you like feeding the squirrels?
I like seeing them. I'm never as clever as that in terms of taking food with me. I always think, I should have taken something with me. But yeah, I like to see animals, and one we see very often on walks is robins, because they're very territorial. There's that kind of emotion when you see a robin, thinking that you're looked after. So you come back from that walk and you keep that feeling with you.
That's fantastic. So I love robins, the gardener's friend.
Absolutely.
What music do you like?
I love all sorts of music, and when I travel I always bring music from that country, but one of my favourite is smooth jazz, which is lots of guitar and sax and piano, with or without anyone singing.
What's your group called?
So I run a company called Creative Empowerment CIC. It's becoming now Mindful Reset more, so maybe time will tell if I change the name of that. But basically you can visit the website www.mindfulreset.co.uk, or you can drop me a line at hello@mindfulreset.co.uk. Because I teach, I can't always answer the phone, and I know people are not always comfortable with leaving a message, so drop me a line and then I'll find it in the evening and then I'll come back to you. If you're not too sure of the format, then just come for a session and just consider it as a taster, and chances are that you will like it and you will want to stay. But I fit all the activities around the people joining, so tell me a bit about yourself and what you want to achieve, and then I'll blend that in.
I was going to ask, do you have to have very expensive art equipment to join your lessons?
No, absolutely not. I supply most things, and what will happen is sometimes if someone has got a kit of watercolours at home or their favourite brushes, or if they have a paper that they really like, they can bring that. But I have a lot of boxes at home of different materials, probably too many. And then I have to remember to travel light because I tend to have far too many bags with me. But no, I supply everything. And really what I teach people very often is that drawing on the back of an envelope is good enough. You don't have to have a fancy sketchbook or the super duper pens.
How people get involved?
Going back to our website, you have a look there, and you can also talk to your social prescriber. So in this region, some social prescribers are starting to know me really well, and they will just refer you back to me. So direct or indirect, it's all good.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
1 in 5 of us feel held back by social anxiety when talking to new people, and 20% struggle with small talk. Also, we find it harder to make new friends as we get older, with the average Gen Z having 20 close friends and over 55s reporting just 11 friends. Socialising expert and comedian Max Dickens knows this topic inside out and has written how men in particular struggle with expanding their social circle as they get older, following his own experience of being unable to find a best man for his wedding. And he joins me now. So Max, what's going on?
Well, Richard, the stats are pretty damning, aren't they? There's a friendship crisis in the UK. And the stats you read out there from this new study that's being commissioned by Nomo, the vegan and free from chocolate brand, are pretty staggering. 1 in 10 people say they don't have any friends. 2 in 3 of us want more friends. And like you say, a lot of people struggling with small talk and with social anxiety. And I think it's a bit of an indictment of the way the world works now. We've built a world that's not particularly friendly to friendship, if you like. And it's making a lot of people unhappy and unhealthy.
So why do you think we find it so hard to spark up conversations with strangers at the moment? Is it because the world, as you say, has changed? Are we socialising in different ways to maybe how we used to?
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of that. So in terms of why people are finding small talk or sparking conversations more difficult, I think there's a little bit of a COVID hangover. I think we're a bit out of practice. I think connected to that is this idea of digital bubbles. So I think we're spending more and more of our time with less and less people in quite private worlds. I mean, speaking to you today, and I came to the studio, I'm speaking on the train, and I looked down the train, everyone had their headphones in, or they were staring at their device. It felt like it would have been very difficult to spark a conversation, but also this sense that maybe we cut ourselves off from other people. And I think that is something that a lot of people recognise. And maybe another thing here is that the changes to how we live are exacerbating some quite fundamental things about being human. So there's some really interesting research here around why a lot of people dread small talk. So psychologists have discovered this thing called the liking gap, for example, which is really interesting, where we systematically underestimate how much somebody new likes us. This has been borne out again and again. So we kind of will go into a conversation and think, oh, this person's finding me boring or they don't like me. But actually, it's really often completely misleading, that presumption. People like us a lot more than we think. And then there's also quite a famous study done by a guy called Nicholas Epley, who's a psychologist from the University of Chicago. And he got a bunch of people going to do a train ride, a commute ride. And he said, I want you to spark up some conversations on your commute. And you can imagine people were dreading this. They would much rather sort of punch themselves in the face than do this. But then they did it, and afterwards they reported saying, oh, do you know what? It wasn't dreadful at all. It made me feel really good. So the kind of overall point here is I think we have a story in our head about what small talk and sparking a conversation, especially with strangers, like, but often that's not borne out by the reality of it. And if we have these new ways of being in the world, these digital bubbles, maybe that makes that kind of story in our head louder and louder.
It's almost as if we want to have conversations, but we're just so afraid to do it. And if we just made that move, the other person just would have so much relief in the fact that we've made the first move, and they just so want to have that social experience that we need as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like a big kind of thing with socialising, and I realised this when I was on my own sort of journey of getting better at being in touch with friends, making new friends, which I wrote about in Billy No Mates, which is the book I wrote about this, was I spoke to someone who had loads of friends, and I said, you know, how come you got so many friends? And he said to me, well, my mates call me the Sherpa because I organise everything. But if I didn't organise everything, we'd never see each other. And I thought that's a great metaphor to think about your social life, like be the Sherpa, be the one that sends the text, be the one that does the organising. And kind of connected to this is this idea that, as you say, socialising requires somebody somewhere to take a bit of the lead, to be the igniter of the conversation. And I think it's a really good practice to have, and people really appreciate it.
Also, when we're getting older, we don't seem to have as many friends. Is that because when we're younger, we're maybe forced into social situations through school and through those things that you do as a youngster when you're meeting new people? And also, we're not quite as afraid when we're younger. When we get older, we may be a bit more hardened and our social circles change. We move jobs maybe, we move locations, we're with family. Are those all the kinds of things that make it harder for older people?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at this NOMO research, 16 to 24-year-olds say they've got 20 friends. If you go to the over 55s, it's down to 11. So that's a big decrease, and that's borne out by other research as well. And if you think about how friend making happens, think about the glory days, if you like, school, university, if you went there, flat shares in your 20s. What do these have in common is spaces where you repeatedly are in the same space as others. You repeatedly bump into them. If you like, we're given this scaffolding. And we'd like to think friend making is almost like romantic, like the sinking of souls. But actually, what's been kind of discovered and what is borne out by the research is we tend to make friends with people who are close to us a lot. And that's even more likely if we've got something in common. So I think as people get a bit older, they get out of these habitats that help maintain friendships, and they have to be a bit more deliberate. And I think it becomes more harder because you have to put more work into it. But also, especially if you are an older person, you might have mobility issues. You find it hard to get out and about, and you get cut off from these spaces.
Can you tell me a bit about your experience of this issue? And I think for many people in the public eye, we're seen as being very socially able to make connections, but really a lot of people, especially those that are maybe on the radio, they're comedians, we tend to be introverts. We use it as a kind of escape sometimes, but if you actually have a social conversation with us, we're the most socially awkward. I'm wondering whether that plays a key into this, and your own experience around your wedding. How did you find that?
Yeah, well, straight up, I'd say there's no right number of friends to have. So people might be listening to this and going, well, I'm a bit introverted, I've got less friends. Are you telling me I'm wrong? And I'm certainly not doing that. There's no right number of friends to have. Extroverts generally tend to have a few more, whereas introverts have a few less. And if you imagine our friendships, they tend to be less but deeper, whereas extroverts is more but slightly shallower. And again, it's just how people prefer to live their lives. It's not like a right or wrong thing. In terms of my experience, I think it's important to talk about this because loneliness is not meant to look like me. If you could see me now, I'm 36 years old. I'm fairly outgoing. I'm quick to buy my round in the pub. But I had this experience where I got engaged to be married, and I went as far as shopping for a ring. And then the person I went shopping for a ring with said, right, we were in the pub afterwards, said, so who are you going to have as best man? And my mind went completely blank. And then I got a bit of paper out when I got home, made a list of the people I might ask to do that role. And I looked down the list and I realised I worked with most of these people, and the rest of them I hadn't seen often in 2-3 years. And I thought, oh my goodness, like where have all my friends gone? And when I looked at the research, I realised that loads of other men have this problem. Since they started measuring this sort of thing in the early 70s, men have had fewer friends, especially fewer close friends than women. And the problem gets worse as we get older. And I was like, well, if this is such a common experience, I wanted to get to the bottom of what happens and what we can do about it, and also find a best man. That was the idea. And it taught me loads about how friend making and maintaining works, but also more broadly about how women are affected by this, how older people are affected by this, and how society has become more disconnected generally.
We look on our Facebook or our social media and we might have hundreds, maybe even thousands if we're lucky, of acquaintances or people that we've met in the past, maybe once or twice, or people from school. And yet exactly that situation, if we needed someone to have a chat with, or we needed someone for a special occasion, or we wanted to meet up in a social situation, how many of those people could we actually just call up? And how many of those people are we actually connected with? They might see our posts and our stories online, but are we actually properly connecting with them?
Absolutely. I mean, I call it the WhatsApp trap, that. And WhatsApp's kind of better than nothing. But often in technology and socializing, what starts off as better than nothing ends up being seen as simply better. And we get more and more kind of disconnected from people. I think what's important to kind of emphasize here is you don't have to have lots and lots and lots and lots of really, really close friends. What we need is a bit of a balance. We need a few people who really know us. That's what I reflected on. like when I realised I didn't have anyone to be a best man, was I had mates from the pub, from playing football, but I didn't have any really close friends, people who I felt knew me on a deep level and I knew them on a deep level. And if people listen to this, I reflect, like, who would be in that top 2 or 3, like that core group? But then beyond that, we also want some friends that are a bit more casual, you know, friends from work and friends from hobbies. That's really important. And then actually also, I think more casual conversations, the research suggests, is really important for well-being. So it's got to be seen in the whole. Like, connection is really important for our physical health. Like, there's been an alarming, like, load of research to come out about this. Like, being lonely is worse for you than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's worse for you than being obese. It's worse for you than drinking to excess. And then, of course, the mental health effects are pretty profound as well, around anxiety, around depression. There seems to be a causative link there. And also people who are depressed or anxious are more likely to be lonely as well. So we need to take this really seriously. It's a really important part of the mix. And I think the danger is people who do get a bit disconnected, these kind of digitally mediated relationships, whether it be, like you say, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, become more attractive because we don't feel so vulnerable. We're sort of more in control of that. We can gate it a bit more. And I think we have to be quite careful that our real life relationships ebb away as we get more and more drawn into this digital world.
Can you tell us what can help make the thought of talking to new people a bit less daunting?
Yeah, absolutely. A big thing is, I call it a playground mindset, right? If you see a kid in the playground, they assume that people are going to like them and they can assume the interaction is going to be fun. Right? The conversation is not, will they like me? It's, are we going to go on the swings or the seesaw? I think that's really beneficial. If you feel a lot of pressure in conversations, stop trying to be interesting and think about what you say and focus on being interested. Listen well, ask good questions, be curious. That takes the pressure off. You'll feel, I think, some of the anxiety drift away. And I think another big thing is to think about starting small. People you see a lot who you maybe haven't spoken to yet. So people in the gym you've seen 15 times, people you see on your commute, people around the office. Start with them, break the ice, and you'll find you get back into practice again. And that's kind of less intimidating than going up to a complete stranger in a bar or something, or on a train. So focus on those people that you kind of probably have something in common with but haven't got around to speaking to yet. I think that's a great place to start.
And where can we find out more information about what we've been talking about today?
Well, you can read my book, Billy No Mates, How I Realised Men Have a Friendship Problem. But also, in terms of social connection, follow me on socials, because I post a lot about this stuff. And I speak to people all the time who are having a bit of a tough time with their friendships, and I want to help. So if you follow Max Dickens on Instagram or on X, I often post tips on there.
That's Max Dickens, comedian and author. Thank you so much for your time today.
I loved it. Thank you.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
National Get Outside Day encourages all to celebrate the great outdoors and take part in a national big walk. The cause: get people outside, have a family get-together, save some money and improve our health and well-being by going for a walk will form the basis of a national walking census. And Team GB's 2-time Olympic race walker Tom Bosworth is encouraging people to get involved. So thank you for being here, Tom.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for speaking to me.
So tell me more about this National Get Outside Day.
Yeah, it's for everybody and anybody to bring a friend, family, walk the dog, go to one of your favourite places, or discover somewhere new. That's the aim of it. And then we're going to find out, with all of the walks happening, all the data we're going to collect, and see just how far, the different paces, what sort of walks people like to do. If you're not sure as well, you can use the OS Map app, download and log your walk through that. And it's as simple as that.
And why is walking so important, not just for our physical health, but for our mental health?
Oh, because people often overlook it. We hear about how important exercise is for our physical and mental health. And I think people don't take walking into consideration for that. Obviously, I champion that all day long. I'm not expecting people to go out and walk at the speeds I did, but I think it's just so important for the social aspect, the fresh air, discovering your local community. And this is something we can do. Hopefully, this can be a bit of a motivation for people to get outside and explore somewhere new, perhaps if they haven't done it before.
And there's going to be a walking census created. Can you tell me a bit more about what that is going to be?
Yeah, so it's really simple. If you want to get involved, you just have to download the OS Map app if you haven't got it already, and log your walk via that. And that is going to collect a load of data about how we like to walk in the UK, the distances, as I say, the types of walks, where we're walking. And it's basically going to give us a big indicator of just what sort of walks people like to do.
And do you have a favourite walk yourself?
I would train twice a day, every day as an athlete. And so for me, walking became a bit of a job, but I absolutely love now. I don't have to train as much. I love walking my dog. I go to Delamere Forest a lot. I also drive up the M6 and go into the Lake District so much. Me and my husband, we love to go to the Lake District. I've been really lucky, when I would train also over in Yorkshire in Leeds, I would live just a few minutes away from the stunning rolling countryside there. So I've always been close to somewhere beautiful in our country. And that's what I think we're really lucky. Whatever spot of the UK you're in, there's somewhere beautiful to walk.
Yeah, there's some great places all around the country. So in the southwest, we've got some amazing picturesque areas. Where would be a great spot that we might not have thought of before, or somewhere that is a great place to go for a walk?
Yeah, one place I know of is Ashbush Forest, Liverton in Devon. So that's a big popular area I know to go and walk. But as I say, if you're not sure where to walk, download the OS map and you can see where other people have walked, and it might take you somewhere new.
And if people don't get the chance to go out over the weekend, it's not looking great weather-wise, can they still get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. You can still get involved if you don't want to head out in our glorious autumn rain that we're probably going to have this weekend. You can still get involved. Log your walk via the OS map app in the days after. And we'll learn so much from everybody taking part.
That's Team GB's two-time Olympic race walker, Tom Bosworth, talking about how we can get involved for the big walk.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to our show today.
You can hear the show next month.
You can catch our podcast on Spotify and Apple.
Thank you.
If you missed anything on today's show, you can download the podcast right now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Amazon Podcasts.
For support and more information for better mental health, visit cornwallmind.org or call the Mind Helpline during office hours on 0300 123 3393.
Or phone the 24/7 NHS local urgent mental health response phone line. It's free to access by anyone, any age, on 0800 038 5300.
And don't forget, you can call the Samaritans anytime for free on 116 123.
If you'd like to be a part of the show, you get in contact, just email us at spacetospeakyourmind@gmail.com.
And also, don't forget to like us on Facebook.